Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 8, I believe, of the Godzilla Roundtable. And today, as always, I'm joined by.
Ton here once more.
Crash once here again.
And today, we are very happy to be joined by my friend, Brian T. Alexander.
Hey there.
So, Brian, as always with guests, we have them start off by talking about how they got into Godzilla. So, how did you get into Godzilla?
What an incredibly long and involved answer this is going to be. Okay.
Make it as long or as short as you want.
So I'm sure, as everyone here was probably, I was a dinosaur kid growing up,
Yes, same.
and Jurassic Park was always, the top tier movie. You got to watch that at least once a day. But just sort of the fascination
Okay.
with dinosaurs.
Okay, Brian, not to cut you off real quick, 'cause it's really funny you say that, because me, Ton, and Crash all met on a Jurassic Park fan site.
Yeah.
That's
that
a
is
funny coincidence.
It is. But anyways, I'm sorry, continue.
No, it's fine. So for me personally, just growing up, it's just like, okay, I want to watch anything with dinosaurs in it. And my parents, they obviously knew that. So that, just extended to, all right, here's some Godzilla movies, I guess. And I remember I had the VHS double pack of Godzilla 1985 and Godzilla versus Megalon, which is the strangest double feature you could imagine.
That's very strange.
And then, of course, I had 98 on, VHS as well. And, just from there, as time wore on, it's just like, oh, okay, this Godzilla movie's available. And I remember growing up, since my family moved around a lot, we would do like this ritual every single time we were about to move to a new area where we would go to a Blockbuster, rent a movie, and then just not return it. And that's how I got a lot of my Godzilla VHSs, DVDs growing up, was just renting them out and then not returning them because I was in a different state.
Not the state part, but I would also rent Blockbuster DVDs and just not bring them back.
Yeah. It's a pastime. And then obviously as time kind of wore on, it just sort of like, okay, I know what ones I don't own, and I just kind of bought them from there. And here we are today.
Yep.
I annoy everyone around me constantly because every single thing I can relate back to Godzilla.
Yeah, I know that feeling, and I'm sure Ton knows because he's the one who has to deal with me the most.
Yeah.
Especially on this.
Lots of Godzilla times. But they're all fun.
They are. So Brian, did you have anything else to add, or are you good?
I mean, it's kind of hard to really add anything on top of that because that's the bones of everything. There's so much more you could add, but then it's just an hour-long discussion of me talking about how I cried during King of the Monsters, and no one wants to hear that.
I know that feeling. Which also brings me to another point about Brian, which is that Brian has his own Brian, I am blanking right now. Forgive me. I'm going on 5 hours of sleep. Brian,
You're good.
Brian makes his own movies as well, so he's also an indie filmmaker.
Yeah, I am. Recently, just wrapped filming on a werewolf project, and we're once it's done, we're hoping to take it around and do film festivals and even potentially get funding for a feature. And I would love to do a feature with the werewolf, but I don't really care what I make it on. I just want to be able to make a feature at this point.
Well, that's awesome.
I know that feeling.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see this. And also, because Brian is a very busy man, he also has begun his own Godzilla series on YouTube, which I will include in the description.
Yeah, I'm very excited. The movie we're going to be talking about today is going to be on that second video, so a lot of my thoughts are going to be reused here.
I know that feeling. Which is a great lead-in to, of course, the start of our discussion on Son of Godzilla. And wow, is this the first time we have not been unanimous on a movie, and I love it. I'm so excited. So I guess let's start with the rating, Brian, because you're our guest. You want to go first? How would you rate Son of Godzilla?
Geez, it's very hard to rate. I mean,
I know.
there are a lot of things. There are a lot of things I like about the film, obviously, but I guess if I just had to go with an overall rating, I would probably give it like a 7 out of 10.
Mhm. That's fair. All right, Ton, what would be your rating?
I actually with Brian there. 7 out of 10 probably be my general rating for it.
And I saved the best for last because I'm so excited. Crash, what's your rating?
I kind of felt like a 6 out of 10 for me personally. It's not
I
bad.
knew it. I was thinking
It's not bad, not at all. But like, it definitely fell on the weaker end for me.
And for me, to be the contrarian for once, I give this an 8 out of 10. I love this movie. And I'm so excited to have a difference in opinions here.
I mean, that's completely fair. There are reasons why I wouldn't rank it higher, but there are plenty of reasons why I would say to myself, maybe 7 out of 10 is just a bit low.
All right, with our ratings out of the way, it's time to get into meat of the episode and discuss Son of Godzilla. So I guess I'll address the elephant in the room, or in this case, the donkey screaming baby Godzilla. What did everyone think of Minya? Brian, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously, growing up and the early days of interacting with people online, there was that feeling of, oh, Minya is what's wrong with everything. Minya is the root to all the problems. But obviously now, at this point, minus the just the age and the budget that they had available, I love Minya. Minya's great.
Oh boy, time for Minya Wars, because I know how Crash feels about Minya. So Crash, how did you feel about Minya?
I thought he was ugly, and he was stupid. I thought he was a loser.
I'm gonna take that personally.
He was definitely fun to look at, and every time he was on screen, it was funny to just watch him fumble and like break his leg, and always just be a loser. It was fun.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Ton, what do you think of Minya?
So I guess for me, to give a little backstory to my reaction to him, this is the first time I've seen Son of Godzilla. I just hadn't gotten around to watching it, so I mostly knew Minya by reputation. I said reputation and listened to memes about him. I remember him in Final Wars, but well, I'll say my Final Wars thoughts of the Final Wars episode, but to make a long story short, I just didn't remember him that well. So finally seeing him in his movie, I guess I knew what to expect, but I ended up liking him more than I thought I would.
Oh, interesting. Is there a reason why?
Like he's just kind of funny. He's kind of like the butt of all the jokes in the movie, but like he's not like an annoying character.
Yeah.
He's funny.
For me with Minya, I think Minya's a good idea with some good concepts, with some mixed execution. I like how he acts because I've told you before, Ton, how like Minya to me kind of reminds me of like a baby lion, like how baby lions play with their dad's tails and like gnaw on them and like jump over them. So Minya doing that to me was interesting because it made him feel like an animal baby. And I do kind of like the moments where he does feel like an actual animal baby. But I have to be honest, Minya's design, both visually and sound design wise, are some of the most unappealing stuff in the franchise.
Oh god, it's horrific.
Yeah, they don't really work. Minya to me just does not look like baby Godzilla. His face is too flat. He's just
when we first found him before he got that kind of darker gray color, he kind of looked. His face had more of a monkey look to me, honestly.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably in the face. I think is a problem. I know you want to make a baby look cute, obviously, but I think they
Hmm.
could have done a little more to give him more of a Godzilla look in the face. I think he looks a little
Hmm.
derpy.
And I feel like you can make a baby dinosaur look cute. Like, just to bring up, for example, the Lost World Jurassic Park has a baby T-Rex as one of the main parts of it, and Junior in that is adorable. He's so cute. So you can make reptilian animals look cute, but I feel like with Minya, they kind of default to a mammalian look, and it's a bit weird. But go on, Tom, because I think you want to say something.
Oh yeah. Proportionally, just kind of in his design, they kind of give Minya this almost like human kid baby esque look,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's kind of just looks kind of odd on a reptilian creature.
It's hard looking at Minya and then imagining Minya as an adult looking like Godzilla, because
Mhm.
all you can really imagine is just Minya but big, and
Mhm.
that haunts my worst dreams.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And then sound design wise, I don't know why they gave him a fucking donkey screech.
That's what I'm saying. He sounded
But
like a
it is the
donkey.
most-
I was gonna say that.
Yeah, it's literally a donkey screech. And it's so grating and annoying. And I don't know why they made that decision instead of giving him just a higher pitched version of Godzilla's roar. But it's very peculiar to me.
Also, Godzilla's kind of a deadbeat dad. TBH. He lets Minya get.
There's definitely a bit of hard love in there.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh my god, though, that reminds me of one of my favorite little jokes in the movie. It's so fucking dark, but when they see Godzilla, like being really strict with Minya, trying to teach him how to breathe atomic fire, and Goro's just like Japanese parents, I was fucking dying. Like, that was so darkly comedic to me.
Yeah.
My father threatened to beat me too.
Oh, man. Wow. They struck a common ground with the giant monster.
Yeah. And then I guess, though, to lead into Godzilla, this Godzilla design is probably one of the most divisive Godzilla designs.
I was not a big fan of it. I think his head's a little too like vertical per se. It's like really long, not
Yeah.
wide enough, and his eyes are kind of like droopy looking. He
Mhm.
just looks off.
There are certain angles where I
Mhm.
think what they were going for works, but 99% of the time it's just, ooh, no.
Mhm. Yeah. Ton, do you want to give your thoughts on the Godzilla design before I get into mine?
Sure, yeah. Definitely not my favorite out of the Show movies. Like, I think we made this comparison. It's almost kind of like the Rage Against suit with the giant eye
Yeah.
and the weird looking head. It's definitely
Yeah.
not my favorite look for old Goji. So, old Goji.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, for me, with the Son of Design, because, okay, to give some background, it was designed to make him look more friendly and more like a dad, because this movie was meant more for kids than the other ones. But I think it kind of just looks weird, because he has this weirdly human face that doesn't really fit. And I'm also wondering if part of it too is that this is the first time where Haru Nakajima is not the main suit actor for Godzilla. He only
Yeah.
does Godzilla in water scenes. He's played by two professional wrestlers instead in this one, which let me pull up their names.
Yeah, I think that also kind of.
No,
Oh,
but
sorry. Do you want to go first?
no, you're fine. I was just gonna say you can even feel like even the performance feels just ever so slightly off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. What you were saying,
And I was gonna
Trash?
say, I think that also kind of reflects on how Godzilla's just different tonally wise in this one. Obviously, he's being a dad in this one, so he's a lot more friendly, a lot more like the way he walks
Yeah.
around. It's much more casual. I mean, there's even a part where he's like, "All right, I'm going to sleep," and he just lays down on the floor, and I'm like, "Godzilla's sleeping. There he is. He's going to bed." So he's like laying on his side and everything. And we haven't
Yeah.
really seen that. We've seen him sleep, but usually in like
Mhm.
an ancient, like curled up position. But he's just like.
Yeah, and it's usually under the
Yeah,
water.
it's like his
This is the
mannerisms
first
in
time
this
it-
one
it's
and the way he
above.
moves around is a lot different than what we've seen before.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
kind of
Oh, real quick, sorry, Brian.
No, you're good.
The two professional wrestlers who played him in this were Hiroshi Sakita and Seiji Onaka, and that's because this Godzilla suit was much taller than the other ones to account for Minya. So they had to have a much taller person play him. Anyways, I'm sorry, Brian, go on.
No. It was brought up about how Godzilla's behavior is different in this movie because of the fatherhood, and that kind of works as a nice segue for what I've been rewatching all these movies recently for. So the YouTube series that I'm working on, it's specifically sorry, I crap. So sorry, my partner's in here with me and they're just giggling at me.
No, you're good.
So going
Fistula
off what I was
crash.
saying, so in the videos I've been producing, what I've been looking for as I rewatch them is sort of like, okay, what can Godzilla stand for? Not necessarily like the overall themes of the movies themselves,
Yeah.
but the specific
Specifically Godzilla. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
hear you.
And just going off of that, in this movie, Godzilla essentially, in my opinion at least, plays the exact same role as he did in the original, except in the original, it's much more of a you need to be punished kind of thing, whereas now, with the inclusion of Minya, it's now a much more parently, sort of fatherly figure being like, you know better than this.
Yeah.
And like that just is so interesting to me how it is in the end essentially the same role, because Godzilla doesn't show up in the movie, not really, until after the weather experiment happens.
Actually, he shows up in like the first 30 seconds of the movie.
I
know, I'm just messing with you.
Yeah,
I'm just messing with you.
that
crash out here, like, actually.
I feel like that scene is included just so you remember, hey, this is a Godzilla movie, don't worry.
Oh yeah, no, it was kind of silly to me, honestly.
He didn't walk into the wrong theater.
Well, I will actually defend that scene because it's meant to set up that there's something on the island that Godzilla wants, and obviously that turns out to be the egg.
Yeah. But like, story structure wise, Godzilla really isn't relevant in the story until after the weather experiment goes wrong, and Godzilla arrives after humanity messes up some stuff, and then everything happens. It kind of follows just the same setup, but just the way Godzilla's handled in it, even though it's the exact same role, Godzilla is coming in to sort of remind humanity of what they're doing is bad, but it just takes on a completely different context with Minya in the picture. And I think this movie in particular is one of the most important films into establishing Godzilla as a heroic figure than
definitely
any of the other films.
Because this is really, I feel like, not to cut you off, Ryan.
Yeah, no.
Like, if you go back to Ibra, which we just did last week, as Crash and Ton remember, they're like, should we wake up Godzilla? Like, isn't that dangerous? And then in this, he's kind of more, I guess, because he does destroy their base.
Yeah.
But it's a bit more like the way like an elephant destroying your camp would be. Like,
yeah,
oh
exactly.
fuck, we've got Godzilla. It's like if you see an elephant, it's not like some big, oh no, the world could end. It's like we got a big animal on our hands, and here it is.
I'd even argue, even in Ebirah, Godzilla, in the grand scheme of the story, is a completely neutral party, because Godzilla isn't...
Yeah, he definitely is.
Yeah, so, and, in all the previous films, Godzilla was either a villain turned hero or, just being controlled by aliens or some other shenanigans. I feel like this is the first film where Godzilla is definitively the hero.
I'd agree.
And it's also the first film where I feel like the filmmakers figured out how to make that work. Because even though Invasion of Astro Monster is probably my favorite film, it's clear that no one really knew how to make Godzilla work as a hero yet.
Yeah, because in Astro Monster, Godzilla is very much the secondary part of that story. It's really a
Yeah.
human story. That's the main focus of it.
Yeah, for sure.
But what you were saying though, Brian, that kind of brings me to two concepts and ideas. And I guess the first one I want to discuss is the idea of a baby Godzilla and Godzilla having an offspring as a concept, which for me personally, I really like that concept, and I really like how it's used in the future, per se. I'll be late on it because I don't want to spoil Crash too much, but I do like the concept and I do like the idea, and I do hope it actually comes back soon because it's kind of been a while since it's been used now.
Hashtag Minya for Godzilla vs. Kong 2020.
That'll be the teaser at the end.
Yeah. And I just really like it because I feel like it does humanize Godzilla and it gives him a new angle where you can sympathize with him as a parental figure, and I think that's interesting. Crash, do you guys have anything to say about
I was gonna say,
that
like,
concept?
the idea of like monster as a child is one we've seen a lot, especially in like horror media, and that was my first thought coming into this one because like son of Kong, son of Dracula, son of
Yeah.
Frankenstein. They do it all the time. Maybe kind of
Yeah.
they're like running out of ideas. Not to say the same for Godzilla, but that was my first thought into this,
Mhm.
and I can't say I was exactly like subverted from that when I watched it. But yeah, like it's
Mhm.
interesting though. I think the idea of Godzilla having like a child could really work if done well. I think
Mhm.
because it's just fun to see like their legacy, you know.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Crash, the only two times you've seen this have been G98 and
Yeah.
now this, which you weren't huge on.
Yeah,
So it hasn't been going well for you so far with Godzilla children.
yeah, sad.
But yeah. Anyways, Ton, I know you had a lot of stuff. Me and you talked about this on Friday actually.
Oh yeah,
But go ahead.
we did. So I really like the idea of Godzilla having the offspring or son. I think. Oh my god! I think what makes it work for me is kaiju.
Mhm.
It's just kind of the core idea of kaiju as animals. I really love.
Mhm.
I really love animals. I was an Animal Planet kid, so the idea of like
Mhm.
seeing kaiju kind of like the whole kind of point is that they're these creatures out of their element. There's kind of this a mental image you get depending on the lore of like an ancient world where that was full of kaiju, but that world is gone now, like the dinosaurs per se. But you get kind of like, well, for me at least, I get kind of like interested by these creatures, like how they fit into the environment, how they live. So the idea of Godzilla having, a little Godzilla to take care of, it's like you can explore a lot of sides of that. How's a Godzilla caretake? How does it bond? Does it bond if it's young? Does it defend it from other predators? And we see all that in Son of Godzilla, which is an element I really like.
I want to give a shout out real quick to someone who I think Brian knows. Call me Joe Ton on Twitter. Loves what you're saying and does a lot of articles about the science of Godzilla. I'll have to link you up to some of those because he does a really good job of analyzing that, especially with the Heisei series.
Oh, I love it.
But yeah, Brian, do you have any ideas on just the concept alone of Godzilla having an offspring?
I mean, the concept in and of itself is not a bad one. I mean, it also depends on what kind of story you're trying to tell. I mean, if you're trying to do, 1954 and there's Minya standing amongst the ruins of Tokyo, it's going to feel a little bit weird. Another dream that haunts my nightmares.
I want this now. I want this edit. The Minya edit of Gojira.
Just the mother cowering with her children. Don't worry, we'll see your father soon. And there's a distant donkey in the distance.
Okay, but I will bring up something though, Brian, and I'm gonna keep it brief because this is not the Shin Godzilla episode. But Shin Godzilla has the baby Godzilla concept, but applies it in a really horrifying way.
Oh yeah.
So could you not use
horrifying.
the concept in the scary way? Like, I mean, G98 tried, but fucking failed because it just used their
just
baby Godzilla.
velociraptors.
Yeah, they're just raptors in that movie. But yeah, and I guess that leads me. I have two concepts here. I'm trying to think of which one I want to tackle first. You know what? I think I'll go with this one first, though. Um, and I think something though with Son of Godzilla in general. I feel like, and I kind of said this to Crash and Ton before. I feel like it kind of has an issue with tone.
Yes, I was gonna say that's probably my main issue with this movie. I think.
Hmm
Can I say it? 'Cause- yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I
you
was
can
gonna say
say.
yeah. I think
Go
like
ahead.
it's because these movies trying to do two different things. I feel we didn't even talk about, it, but yeah, there's a whole human
Yeah,
plot. Them mess around with the
yeah,
weather.
we haven't gone to
Yeah,
it
well,
yet.
I guess should we establish that first? I guess.
Hmm
Well, yeah, the humans they're there. They're doing like a weather experiment, trying to find a way to control the weather. I think to try and make regions more
Yeah, they are.
habitable because of overpopulation.
Yeah.
And
hmm
but yeah, that plot feels a lot more serious and a lot more down to earth. But then it'll cut to
hmm
like Minya tripping on his toenail and like breaking his arm. And it's funny, but I felt there was like a tonal clash there, which is what the movie was trying to do
hmm
with the more serious human stuff and a lot more comical Minya stuff.
hmm
And I think if
Yeah.
they
I feel like
if they kept a similar tone for both of them, kind of like Ibira, I felt it could have
Yeah.
been a lot
Yeah.
better. I felt. But yeah, go on, Brian.
I feel like oh
No, you
sorry with those sort of two weird tonal like
hmm
ends, I do feel like the movie is able to find that middle ground with Kamunga
hmm
because
Oh wait,
Come on,
Brian, mind if I ask you to hold your thought though on the giant insects
yeah,
and spider because I had that set up as another topic.
okay.
they're cool.
So just on tone alone, do you have any thoughts on the tonal stuff?
I mean, yeah, there is absolutely a discrepancy between the two halves of the story.
Hmm
Without getting into it, I think the finale is where they manage to merge and become a bit more
hmm
yeah,
Yeah,
Cohesive.
cohesive.
no, I agree there definitely.
Mhm. Ton, do you have any thoughts on the tone
Um,
before I say mine?
yeah, I'm probably I'm with Crash on that. There are definitely some issues I had with the tone, as just I felt like the human plot and the kaiju plot didn't really intersect,
Hmm
mainly with Godzilla and Minya. We'll go on
hmm
that and get to the insects.
Yeah.
I would also say the pacing could have been a bit, there could have been a
Yeah,
bit more
that I did
urgency.
notice this time. It's a very lax pacing, which I think is interesting, but I could see it. For me, I'm gonna go on a bit of a tangent here, so this will get long, so get ready. I definitely do agree. There's a big tonal issue with Son of Godzilla, where the human stuff feels very Honda style to me. Like it's about a group of
Mm,
scientists. They're trying to find ways to make regions of the earth hospitable where you can grow food and live there to try to curb overpopulation. And the theme of that section to me is very much how responsible do we have to be with science, which is something Honda's very interested in, especially if you watch his other science fiction and horror films. That's something Honda's very worried about in his films, and that's a big part of his films. Not so much with Fukuda's stuff, but I think Fukuda and of course Sekizawa, who was one of the co-writers of this film, did a really good job. When I really enjoy the humans, I think the characters are really good. I think they're all likable, and I feel like the human stuff is really well done.
Mhm.
But then you jump to the monsters, mainly with Godzilla and Minya, and it just feels like a different movie to a degree, where we're getting a very wacky Ibra or later on Gigan kind of movie, which contrasts heavily with the very serious message of how much is too much with science, even if you're trying to do something good. And I think to get into a bit with the fandom, Brian, I'm sure as you know, Son of Godzilla now has enjoyed a lot of new love
oh yeah.
and defense, and with a lot of people being like, "Oh, you only hate it for the monster design, blah blah blah." And I think in a way we get so insulated as a fandom that those tonal shifts kind of get forgotten, I guess. Like where
Swept under
it's
the
like,
rug, yeah.
yeah, where we're so used to them now, we're like, oh yeah, the monster stuff can have a different tone than the human stuff. But then you have like Crash, who's new to the franchise, and is like, what the fuck is going on? Why is there two totally different tones? And I think that sometimes we need to come out of the fandom space and the Godzilla love and look at it as a film. And I'm not saying you can't love the film, because I still love it. I think it's a great movie. I gave the highest rating here. But I think you also have to acknowledge that there is something off with it tonally. And I don't think that having fatherhood and the danger of science seems necessarily work the best. I think the ending scene, like you said, Brian, does work very well, and I think that ending scene's still really beautiful in with the finishing image of Godzilla and Minya hugging each other as the snow falls around them, and them being basically going into hibernation. But I think everything else, even the stuff with Kamakus and Kamunga, feels a lot more serious to me than the stuff
Yeah.
with Godzilla and Minya.
And that's kind of what I was saying earlier. Like the stuff with just Godzilla and Minya alone does feel like a complete tonal just whiplash. But I think once the intersection of Godzilla and Minya's story and the human story, which involves the giant insects, once those kind of start meeting, I think the tonal, issues kind of begin to resolve themselves, specifically with Kamunga, because they kind of have some fun with Kamacuras.
Yeah. Which brings me to my next point. What did you guys think of the two new monsters to the franchise, which are Kamacuras and Kumunga, which both also came from prior Universal horror films, which is ironic because there's a lot of inspiration from Universal horror films in this movie as a whole, like with the Son of Godzilla concept being taken from stuff like Daughter of Dracula and Son of Frankenstein and Son of Kong. And then you also have the giant insects, which are obviously inspired by stuff like the Deadly Mantis and Tarantula from Universal.
I thought they were
Crash,
pretty
would you like to go
cool.
first?
I got a thing for bugs, but just bigger. Maybe they could have been a little more inspired, but I thought they were cool, especially the Kamacuras. I think they say, I don't know. That
Yes.
Kamacuras, yeah. The giant mantises. You see them like kind of like
Yeah.
a little taller than human height at first, but then once it's really fucking hot, they become giant, and then
Yeah.
they're really cool. And they start bullying the Minya immediately, right from birth. Can't get a break. And then Kamanga is just cool. It's a giant spider. Spiders are already freaky looking things, so just seeing them so big is always cool. And he was quite a threat too, with the silk and stuff, just wrapping it up.
Yeah. Monster style. Ton, do you have any thoughts on Kamacuras and Kumunga?
Yeah, so this is not my first time seeing them. I've seen them in was Kamacuras in Final One?
Yes, he was.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's where I would have saw them for the first time. So finally seeing them in their intro movie, I was really impressed with the effects for them. Especially Kumunga. The puppetry for all of his legs moving and walking was so lifelike. Almost I was like, you would think it was like a real giant spider if it wasn't for, obvious plastic and stuff.
That was something I was gonna ask. I was like, did they use they just record a spider just walking? But no, it's really good puppetry.
It's a puppet.
Yeah.
Yeah. The puppetry in this movie, I want to say, is fantastic. This is once again not done by Eiji Tsuburaya. It's done by his protege, who also did Ibra. I cannot remember his name again. I hate that I can. But he does a fantastic job in this. And there's another shot, which I also want to bring up, that's really good. Do you guys remember when Godzilla first comes to shore?
Yes.
That shot is amazing, how they intercut it. And I think it's one of the most convincing Godzilla shots in the Showa era to me. But yeah, going back to Kamacuras and Kumunga, did you have anything more to say, Tom?
I had some. Oh yeah, now I remember. So if you're familiar with Japanese media at all, Japan loves bugs, especially giant bugs. So they're not exactly a rare thing in Japanese media. And sometimes they get kind of boring. It's like, oh boy, another big bug thing eating someone. I haven't seen that before. But with Kamacuras and Kumunga, I really love their design. Kamacuras kind of has this almost crab-like red coloring to them. And you have the kind of unique element of having multiple Kamacuras running around, which I think is a first, honestly.
Yeah, it is the first for a Godzilla film.
Yeah, and then Kumanga just has this amazing presence with
Mhm.
the scary violin music
Yeah.
as it almost kind of has like a adult fear element because like even though I do think Minya's a little too much like a human child, the scene where like
Mhm.
you see Kumunga attacking Minya almost feels like kind of like those horror scenes in like
Mhm.
Aliens or whatever, where you have like the kid character getting attacked by the monster. It just gets your heart
Yep.
pumping. So I really like how they work that out.
Mhm. Okay. Brian, do you have anything to say on Kamagus and Kumanga?
I mean, it would mostly just be more of what everyone else is saying. There's this idea of great concept, poor execution, and
Mhm.
I think this is kind of the reverse of that, where it's kind of a, it's kind of a tired concept, just big bugs, but the
Mhm.
execution on both of them are stellar.
It really is.
Oh yeah, they're cool.
And honestly, I have to say, I'll admit, giant bugs are my second favorite kind of monster behind giant dinosaurs and reptiles. So I am living for Kamakus and Kamunga because I think they're just really fun. And it's a little bit I want to bring up though is I love to see to go tie back in something you were saying, Ton,
Mhm.
of a kaiju ecosystem. When Kumunga kills Kamakus and starts eating it, that's really cool to me because it's just cool to see kaiju eating kaiju because it is like that ecosystem in a sense
Mhm.
of kaiju predation, and I just really dig it. It's just really fun. It's really cool. That's all I can say. Kamakus and Kumunga are cool, and they need to show up more because they've only shown up Kumunga twice after this and Kamakus once after this, which is a shame.
Yeah, that was the same.
Just oh,
Mhm.
sorry.
Go
Just
ahead.
going off of the whole giant bug thing.
Mhm.
It kind of brings me to just one point that I just want to throw out there and mention. I'm a big fan of like old Robinson Crusoe, like Mysterious Island, Jules Verne kind of books,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and this movie just really has that strong vibe of
It does.
you're on an island and things are big here.
It does. I feel like Ibra had that same vibe too. We brought that up in the last episode, actually.
Mhm.
Wasn't
Yeah,
Ibra originally titled like Robinson Crusoe?
yeah, it was in
Yeah,
in,
yeah.
in, in a Japanese title, which I cannot remember, but I do remember that it was titled like that. Which I guess to lead into the other side of this thing, 'cause we come at the monsters a lot. What did you guys think of the human cast and the human story? I'll start with you, Tom.
So the human cast, what Godzilla movies always have like really good and talented actors, and I really enjoyed everyone's characters and how it worked in the story. Like I really liked the journalist main character and the UN scientist.
Mm-hmm.
Plot wise, overall,
Mm-hmm.
I liked it a lot. Like Brian said, it has that very kind of Jules Verne scientist on a lost island, lost
Mm-hmm.
world kind of feel. Um, I guess, well, I guess any issues I had with them was more just kind of that tonal difference, where it's kind of
Yeah.
like you have. I guess, I guess I'll just go into it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you have like the really serious scene where like they do the test, you see the balloon malfunction, you see the
Mm-hmm.
giant storm like devastate and absolutely just wreck this
Mm-hmm.
island. But then it just cuts to them like they all took their shirts off and they're in their underwear. And it's just like, oh man, that was hot. So, but
You bet it is.
but yeah, overall I like them. So
Mm-hmm. All right, Crash. Let me let you dig into them.
I was gonna say, yeah, I did like the human cast a lot. I think everything with the scientist was really cool, especially how the one about the lead scientist and him eventually kind of like swallowing his pride and being like, yeah, this experiment
Yep.
is not worth continuing. Like after everything we've lost, first it's like we're not. Yeah, that storm was awful, but we're gonna keep going anyways. And then seeing him
Mm-hmm.
like realize that's not as important anymore. I like that stuff. And Goro as the main
Yeah.
character, he just kind of shows up. But he's
Yeah, I love his intro. His intro is
it
so funny.
is.
Just fucking lands like, "Hi, I'm
Yeah,
here."
no, just out of nowhere. He's cool. He finds native girl,
Mhm.
not native. No, she's from Japan,
Jap- Jap-
and her parents
Japan,
came here and died,
because
and or her dad came
yeah,
here, had her,
yeah,
and
both
then
their parents came
died.
here, and they were imperial holdouts, which I think is the first time that's been mentioned in a Godzilla movie, and I think it's the only time it's even been a plot point in one, which is interesting.
Yeah, I thought she was a little boring, but it was cool. She helped out at the end, find the secret escape
Hmm.
tunnels. I think my the scientist stuff was my favorite part of the human side of the story,
Hmm.
Mhm.
but it was enjoyable all around. I felt.
Brian, do you have anything to say on the human plot?
I will say, when I gave the movie a 7 out of 10, the 3 was mainly going to it's a great cast and I really like them all, but I honestly, there are times where it's just kind of like I find it not necessarily very interesting,
I
Hmm.
see that. Yeah.
and because it feels like a lot of stock characters in a very safe
Hmm.
for Godzilla, that is. It's a very safe kind of story. You have your scientist, you have
Hmm.
your reporter character,
Hmm.
and it fits all the conventions you would kind of expect.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Oh, go ahead then.
Oh, I was just agreeing.
Oh, okay. For me, I really like the human cast, and I will say I agree, Brian. It is very generic, but I think the way it does it is very interesting, very fun. Like I like the mutiny attempt by the one character who was like, "We have to get the fuck out of here. I'm tired of this. Enough."
I will
And he,
say, oh,
hmm
sorry.
oh no, go ahead.
I do want to mention the mutiny sort of subplot and
Mhm.
character. That was probably my favorite, sort of interactions in the film, because
Same.
I would absolutely be that guy. Like, no, what are we doing here? They're
I
bugs. They're big.
I really loved it because it does add some drama and some really unique interpersonal stakes there. And I do like the scenes. Like, yeah, the scenes have been explored, but I feel like this is the first Godzilla movie to really fully tackle what should you and should you not be doing with science, and even if you have good intentions, how much is too much, and when is it time to let go? And I
Yeah,
feel like, in a way, the main science reminds me of Sarazawa, where he realizes what he has to do for the greater good, even if it means letting go of something he really is very fond of and very attached to. And then I think that's interesting. And I think it does the weather plot in a really interesting way. I really like the effects for the weather going haywire. I think that's really cool too.
Mm-hmm. The nature work was definitely really good in this.
It really is. It's fantastic. And I guess to go back to what I was saying with Imperial Japan, I think it's kind of interesting to see something so critical of it by basically linking oh shoot, what's her name? Oh yeah, Psycho's father to Imperial holdouts and linking that to the main scientist being too stubborn to give up. I think that's a really interesting little bit of semantic note there of saying, yeah, Imperial Japan was way too stubborn and was doing bad stuff and really should have let go. And in the end, his poor daughter's left alone on this island with a giant spider and man-sized praying mantises, all because he wouldn't swallow his pride and give up and acknowledge that Imperial Japan was defeated. And I think that's an interesting little note to sink on. It's definitely not super fleshed out, but I do think it's really interesting how they do it.
I guess what kind of following up on that is that you see in quite a few Japanese stories, there's almost always, well, not almost always, but sometimes there'll be kind of like a Captain Ahab character
Hmm.
who, well, yeah, like the anime Godzilla has that character who's like obsessed with football and will do everything
Hmm.
he possibly can to try and achieve that. It's kind of interesting seeing
Hmm.
the Japanese media how that character is either, the hero and he's praised for
Hmm.
being so stubborn, or it's like, this guy's an idiot.
Hmm.
I do wonder how much that kind of
I definitely think it's a big part of it because I think Japan, and I'm not Japanese, so I can only speak on from what I've seen, from what I've heard. I feel like Japan has this weird mix of admiring it, but also realizing that it can be harmful and end in bad stuff. And I think this is interesting because I don't think you're meant to consider the main scientist in this movie a bad person. I think you're meant to admire his goals, but acknowledge that his actions and dedication is flawed, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Hmm. 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 Yep. Hmm. Yep. And I guess there's also something interesting to compare the water testing to nuclear testing too, and I don't think that's an accidental either, on how it feels a little bit analogous to testing nuclear weapons on random Pacific islands, which has
Yeah.
definitely been, well, a big part of this franchise from day one. Okay, Crash, do you have anything you want to say flaws wise
Flaws?
with this?
I,
Yeah, or did you
I
say
feel
all
like
your
I said
flaws
it.
with it?
I feel like, well, I don't want to be too negative though. Maybe I'll talk about the stuff I did like more, because I think throughout
Okay,
I said
sure.
what I already didn't wasn't a big fan of. But like I said,
Yeah.
even though Minya's kind of a dope, it was really funny seeing him be a dope the whole time. Every time, it was cute seeing him bond with Godzilla, trying to learn how to do his
Mhm.
blast. And at first, I asked you this. I was like, "Is he really Godzilla's son?" But then you told me no. He's like his adoptive son.
No, he's adopted.
But it's
Yeah.
cute. Godzilla's like, yeah, I'll take this. I'll take the care of this kid, if I won't put in the most effort. That was fun. Like I said, everything with the monsters too, especially seeing them fight while the humans trying to run away
Mhm.
was always cool.
Yeah.
But
There's some great effects work on that. I do want to mention because you reminded me. When Godzilla flies to Kamakus and you see the leg fly
oh
up
yeah, that was really
and
funny to
land
me.
next to the
You
human
feel like running
characters,
away, and you see like the leg just like land in front of them, flaming.
it's such a great scene.
It's really funny. But I can't.
This movie is really brutal too, actually.
Oh yeah.
Oh, for sure.
I do.
Hmm.
Oh, I was just gonna say I do like how at one point they just kind of took one of the Kamaker's,
Hmm.
puppets off the strings and just let the guy in the Godzilla suit just throw it around for a bit. That's very fun to
Oh
watch.
yeah.
It is. Oh, but you're saying, Ton? Hmm.
Being bullied.
Yeah.
I do enjoy just how much of a beating Minya takes
Me
before,
too.
Oh, he
Godzilla
does.
shows up. Like, good lord.
And even when he does show up, the fucking rock just smacking him in the head.
Maybe that's why his face looks so flat.
Probably. Wouldn't be surprised.
And mhm,
They did break him out of the egg pretty early.
mhm. And I do want to mention something though. This is also Jun Fukuda's second Godzilla film. Though we talked a lot about Fukuda last time, so I'll save any more Fukuda talk for the '70s stuff because I feel like this is more him still trying to find his way per se with the franchise and trying to figure out his style. And I think he fully nails it in the '70s stuff, which we are getting to very soon. Um, Okay, I think I'm gonna have us do our closing thoughts now. Brian, as our guest, do you want to go first on your closing thoughts on Son of Godzilla?
Yeah, sure. So like I said before, I do think this film is probably like the biggest drive forward into
Mm-hmm,
making Godzilla a heroic character, but not only that, making Godzilla a heroic character makes sense
mm-hmm,
because, it's kind of difficult to root for something that's essentially a stand-in for, an atomic bomb. And so
mm-hmm,
how they work around it here, I think is ingenious, but it also, in my personal opinion, really made sure that Godzilla had a lasting staying power. And
mm-hmm,
so even if even if everything in this film doesn't necessarily work for me, I do think this is a really important
mm-hmm.
cornerstone, and it's a lot better than what a lot of people would say, even if you know the current
Mm-hmm.
feelings on the movie are way more positive.
Mm-hmm.
The people who would detract from it, I still think it's way better than they would give it credit for.
That's fair. All right, Ton, do you want to give your closing thoughts?
So Son of Godzilla, it's not my favorite Thor movie, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. There's
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot to enjoy and take out of this movie. So I'd probably recommend it to people if you're a more hardcore Godzilla fan, but if you're a more casual
Mm-hmm.
fan and you just want to watch something that's kind of like gonna make you laugh,
Mm-hmm.
I think there's something for everyone to get out of this movie, even if it's
Mm-hmm.
not my like top favorite.
Mm-hmm. All right, Crash. I'm saving you, Mr. Negative Nancy, for
Wow.
last. I'm I'm messing with you. I'm messing with you. You've been good.
Oh, me? Okay. Yeah. So I was gonna say,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's probably, I guess, one out of the ones I've seen so far. Probably one of my least favorite
Mm-hmm.
ones, but not the worst one I've seen. The worst one is probably Rage
Yeah.
Again, because despite my issues with Son of Godzilla, I think all the Minya
Mm-hmm.
abuse really makes up for it. It just makes it's really funny to watch, and it's like there's just a
Mm-hmm.
lot of fun to get out of this one. Like even if you're not a big
Mm-hmm.
fan of all that stuff, like everything with Minya
Mm-hmm.
Godzilla is entertaining and enjoyable to watch. I think the human stuff is engaging enough as well. So I'd still recommend
Mm-hmm.
watching it. It's not a bad movie, not at all. I
Mm-hmm.
still like
Yeah,
it.
I would agree.
Mm-hmm. Which reminds me, me and Crash finally nailed down his ranking. If you want to say
Oh
your ranking
yeah.
so far, because we're about to finish up this first era of Godzilla. If you want to say your
Oh
ranking,
yeah. Let me find it. You put it down here.
yeah,
You pretty much did it for me because like you figured out my favorite. So I'd say right now,
yeah,
how many movies is 7 so far?
yeah. 7 or 8
Yeah.
is what we're up
So
to now.
from my favorite to least favorite, probably go Astro Monster, Ghidorah, Mothra versus Gojira, King Kong versus Ebirah, Son of Godzilla, and Raids Again. That's my
Mm-hmm.
list so far. We'll see how that changes when we see the next 30 or so films in the future.
Yes, we still have 20 something
Yeah.
films left, which is incredible.
Oh God.
For me, Son of Godzilla for me is greater as a whole than the sum of its parts, if that makes sense. I do see this issue with it. Like I do agree the tone's a bit off. The plot isn't the most unique, and the monsters as concept are the most unique. But something about it just works for me. I really enjoy the human plot. I think it's really fun. I really love the monster stuff, and for me, it might just be because I've been a Godzilla fan for so long. But the tonal stuff, I just kind of roll with it. I admit it
Yeah,
doesn't pull
yeah.
me out of it so much for me. For a newer fan, I totally get it, but for me, I just kind of roll with it. I'm just used to it. Like, okay, yeah, the human stuff's super serious. Godzilla stuff's a little bit goofy, but I still love it anyways. And for me, it's just a really enjoyable film. And I'd actually say, this is my favorite Jun Fukuda film of the franchise. Actually, I think
Okay,
this is his best work.
I'm glad you said that because I would also agree.
I just think that he gets to say something with this film,
Yeah,
which is really nice because I feel like, with the exception of Gigan, kind of Megalon, ironically, he doesn't really get to do much commentaries in his Godzilla films, which I'm sure frustrated him, as we discussed last time.
yeah.
So yeah, Son of Godzilla, I think, is pretty great. I would say if you're a newer fan, I wouldn't say to start with this unless you're going in order. I'd save it more for when you're more used to everything, but you will get a lot of fun out of it. It's not like a boring film, like in my opinion, Rage Again is. It's very enjoyable. It's not fast paced, but it's paced well enough that you're not looking at your watch. And the effects work is fantastic, and I recommend it for that alone.
Yeah, I would too.
All right, so sorry, go ahead first, Brian.
I was just going to say, before we wrap up, I just wanted to make a quick note how you mentioned the weather experiments being, an analog for nuclear testing. And I was just thinking how at the very end, it's interesting how mankind essentially detonates a weapon of mass destruction to help Godzilla. And that might come up later. Please let me defend King of the Monsters.
Okay, but I says also on Twitter that the nuclear testing stuff is not as simple as a lot of people like to make it out to be. And Kingdom Monsters is not some outlier that ruined the franchise. But let me save that for Kingdom Monsters because I could be here for 50 minutes alone talking about why Kingdom Monsters is amazing. Anyways, Brian.
Whenever I get around to making my video for King of the Monsters, once I get to that point, that's going to be like a 3-hour documentary commentary on the movie. I'm going to be having a written essay that's just in the video on top of it.
You guys have no idea what will happen if you put me and Brian together in terms of Kingdom Monsters Defense. It'll become a self-powering machine of Kingdom Monsters Defense, of us feeding off of each other's energy. Anyways, Brian, where can people find you?
Hold on a minute. I got to look up my Twitter handle. Hold on. All right, so you can find me at @BAlexanderFilm on Twitter. I am also on Instagram, but I don't really use it that much. But I do occasionally post, some behind the scenes photos of when I'm working, and that would be Brian Alexander 7492. And you can also follow my YouTube channel, which is Saturn Hex Media. I'm one of the founding members there. You can find my Godzilla videos on there. You can also find the short films we've been working on. You'll definitely find some fun horror themed ones and some really dumb comedy ones. So I think we got a little bit for everyone.
I would highly recommend you guys subscribe. I've watched some of the stuff, Brian, and it's all really great, really well made, as expected from someone in what has become basically the East Coast Hollywood in Georgia.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy out here in Georgia. I could fill up in another hour describing some of the crazy bullshit. Oh, sorry, language.
No, we said fuck like 5 times this one so far. You're good.
Yeah.
Sorry. I wasn't sure what the policy what the policy was.
Probably should tell you at the beginning. Yeah,
words.
we're fine. We say
we curse a ton.
But yeah, so some of the crazy stuff that I've seen out here in Georgia, and some of the stories I've heard about King of the Monsters filming here in Georgia. I've met people who are on that set, and awesome. there are some stories.
I hope they're good ones.
$200 million movies, there's going to be a lot of days where, a lot of people are waiting around for 17 hours.
Yeah, true.
All right. So, hopefully not to get too off topic right here at the end. I met a guy who was one of the dead bodies during the Antarctica scene. And it was like a 17-hour day. He just fell asleep on set, and like all the crew members were telling him, "Oh, you were such a great dead body." And he's just like, "Yeah, I was sleeping."
That's hilarious.
Oh, that's amazing. To give some context, our fourth member, who is not on the podcast yet, is from Georgia. So yeah, it's always good to meet another good Georgian.
There are not many good people in Georgia. I can tell you that right now. So I'm
we've heard the same from him. No offense to anyone in Georgia. We're just joking with you. Trust me, Pokes is from Georgia. We love him. Brian's from Georgia. We also love him a lot. So anyways, guys, sorry for that wild tangent last minute there. This has been episode 7 of the Godzilla Roundtable.
8.
Next,
Whoa,
eight. Crash, leave me be. Next episode will be Destroy All Monsters, which is the finale of this sub era, I guess, of the Showa era.
Should be fun.
We will have Chris McDonald of the Gargantuan cast on. I cannot wait for that. And we will be showing Crash a bunch of new
I know.
monsters,
It should be
all
fun.
in one movie. I can't
Oh,
wait.
God. I mean, are
Anyways,
you ready to
everyone.
see them for 5 seconds?
Can't wait. The best 5 seconds.
Anyways, everyone, thank you for listening, and see you next week.
And